Hosanna to the Son of David. These are the words that the people shouted out as Jesus rode into Jerusalem on his donkey on Palm Sunday. But are these words that you can relate to, these words of celebration or joy? Or are you more like me and sometimes you find it hard to find that kind of joy in our life? Well, you might be surprised that the word Hosanna doesn't mean yay or party time. The word Hosanna means save now or save us now. Maybe this is a little bit easier to relate to. These people were shouting out, save now to the Lord, so that he would come and release them from the rule of the Roman Empire. They were hoping that he would take that donkey all the way up to the palace and kick out the emperor and lead their people into peace and prosperity. So what is it in our life that we think if we could get rid of it, we would be happy? What's that block in our life that we think is there that's taking away our joy? Well, in this story, the Lord doesn't actually end up going to the palace. He ends up riding that donkey to the temple. And in this story, there's a secret about how to find true happiness in our life that I want to talk about. Now, our story today comes from Matthew 21. And after Jesus had come into the city, Jesus entered the temple and drove out all who bought and sold in the temple. And he overturned the tables of the money changers and the seats of those who sold pigeons. He said to them, "It is written, my house shall be called a house of prayer, but you have made it into a den of thieves." And when the chief priests and the scribes saw the wonderful things he did, and the children crying out in the temple, "Hosanna to the Son of David," they were indignant, and they said to him, "Do you hear what these children are saying?" And Jesus said to them, "Yes, have you never read, out of the mouths of children and infants you have called forth praise"? Now, this story might seem a little bit out of character for Jesus. He comes into the temple and he kicks over the table and he kicks the money changers out. But what you need to know is that Jesus was coming into his own house. This is the place that people were supposed to be able to come to connect with him. And they had set up shop in the gates, and they were buying and selling things there and had made it into a den of thieves. Now, the second thing you need to know is that Jesus was also trying to tell a deeper story here, one that applies to all people at all times. Money changers on a deeper level in our life is something that steals our spiritual joy, and that is expectations. Expectations of who God is supposed to be, what he's supposed to give us. Expectations of earthly success that we're supposed to have. Now, have you ever heard a message in your life where somebody told you, if you just pray hard enough, that you can get whatever you want? This message would be great if it was true. But the truth is, there's people out there every day who are praying for worldly success, and it doesn't come. Sometimes these people start to feel sad because God isn't answering their prayers. And it can eventually lead to people thinking that God thinks they're a bad person because they're not getting what they want from him. Now, a modern day example of what a money changer might be is a message you hear on television where a pastor would say, you give this much money, you're going to get tenfold back from God. 10 times as much. This message is not only stealing your money, but it's also stealing the joy in your life that you could be having from God. You see, the trick in life is not to pray for the things that we think will make us happy, but instead pray to be made happy in the things we already have. Now, I don't want to make it sound like I think natural things are bad, or even that it's wrong to pray for something that's going to be useful in your life, but it's just not what makes us happy. You see, the joy that God is offering is a joy that you can find wherever and whenever you want. It's a joy that doesn't depend on worldly success, and it's the joy of heaven. Now, this joy in this story actually shows up with those children singing in the temple. After the Lord kicked out the money changers, these children started to shout, "Hosanna to the Son of David." They represent that type of joy that comes into our life when we can let go of our expectations of God, when we can let go of what we think God should be giving us in our life and accept what we already have. Now, I know this might sound a little idealistic, but in my life, I spent a lot of time praying for life to be the way I wanted it to, praying that certain things wouldn't happen. And a lot of times it didn't end up the way I wanted. But I didn't start finding real joy in my life until I started to pray, not for the things I wanted, but to have happiness despite the bad stuff in the stuff that I already had. So, I have a little challenge for you, if you'd like to take it. Every time you start to feel that life is just not going the way you want it to, pray to the Lord, not for the things that you want, but to have a happiness in what already is. And if you're feeling really ambitious, maybe you can get a little notepad that you can keep by the side of your bed. And every night, for 2 minutes, write down things that you're grateful for. You might be surprised that after you do this for a little bit, a joyful attitude, an attitude of gratitude will start to creep into your life and bring that spiritual life that the Lord wants to give to each one of us. So I invite you to close your eyes and imagine the Lord's there at the edge of your temple, the temple of your mind. If you looked inside of there, what would be that expectation that is most stealing your joy? That expectation of what God could give you that He's not giving you. Pray to God right now to take that expectation away. You might be surprised to see that when you do this, a joy enters into your heart. A joy similar to that joy that made those children cry out, Hosanna to the Son of God. Save us now. Save us, Son of God.